Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming on a kind of a rainy, miserable evening. Welcome to planning. I'd like to call our meeting to order for Monday, December 6th. And any declarations of conflict of interest?
None, sir.
I see none. We have quorum. Okay. Approval of the agenda. I believe, Alex, did you want to speak to that? Is there a change?
Yeah, there's a change. One of those applications for the one on University Avenue was for it was a minor variance, and no one wrote in. So as a result, Laurel can deal with that herself. So the one there that's showing up for Laurel's name doesn't have to be presented this evening.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I don't know if I can bring it up under here, but under new business. I met with Aaron Stafford, open practices there a couple of weeks ago, about lot sizes and how we can accommodate affordable housing by reducing the required minimum size. I think I spoke to you about it. I just wanted to just give a little update. And the second item is, it's just speaking to Councillor Yankow, in terms of signage for, festivals and events and so. Now I believe it comes through here. Does it, Alex? Is that where we're?
I think so, like anything that's outside of the scope of what's under economic development that's already been pre-approved and set for what they do. I understand it would fall under the signage bylaw, so it would fall under planning.
Could we bring it up?
Okay, we can certainly have a quick discussion. Sure. Okay, so.
Chair, I
Yes.
should mention, the last time that the Tim Hortons came around on Capitol Drive, I was in conflict. So unless somebody tells me otherwise, I assume I must still be in conflict. So I'll step out.
But are we going to have a quorum?
Do we have someone on?
Well, that's what.
No. That's an applicant.
No, we have no one else on.
We won't have quorum.
We won't have quorum if Lana sits there.
I mean, I was told I was in conflict last time because the Tim Hortons owner brother is the chair of the board that I work for at the Guild. So that's what I was told at that point. The legal opinion came back. So unless somebody can tell me otherwise, I would be in conflict.
Did we get that better through legal counsel?
I never see those. No, that's not.
That's a good question.
It's a good point, though. What's your suggestion?
Well, I don't want to put the councillor in a difficult position, but even if you voted against it, if you just be careful, then just keep the thing moving, and then you could declare conflict of council because there'll be lots of people there. It's just, unfortunately, there's somebody from New York on the phone there that's going to be participating in this. Everybody's ready, but I don't know what happened to her. Oliver, I guess Julia, I knew that she was going to be here, but
Is she totally occupied, Councilman Yankow?
I haven't, Julie said she wasn't
I
able
don't
to
know, but
attend.
it kind of goes back to that. I mean, if I was in conflict the last time, as long as somebody can assure me that I'm not putting anything in jeopardy.
You folks continue on the sign, and I'll get you the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so any other changes to the agenda?
I just wondered,
Yep.
under introduction of new business, we never ever did complete the issue of swimming pools with the new types of pool covers, and now we have another inquiry. So that was never ever completed through the planning board. So maybe Alex can give us an update of where we're at with that.
Option,
There's
okay.
2 applications pending instead of 1.
Right, okay, so under the new business, that's item number 3. Okay. Okay, so I'll have to wait for the mayor to come back in the room in just a second. And just to welcome the people that are online, welcome to Planning Board. Mr. Mayor, you good?
So just an point of order, Mr. Chair,
Right.
are we doing 189 Great George Street right now?
We will.
Okay. So Councilor McCabe can call in, and that will allow her to
Separate.
step out.
Okay, that works.
She can call in for the Capitol Drive one, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
About 10 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, good enough. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so the agenda, so we added another item, Mr. Mayor, swimming pools to the addition to the,
Yeah, these are,
new
those
business.
items are better for planning committee,
Mhm.
both of those items.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, planning committee.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
as long as we
Yeah.
can, that's signage and the swimming pools, both?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good, we
Anything
can,
we've seen in the zoning
okay,
bylaws.
we'll address those two at the planning committee. That
Yeah.
makes,
So they're not added to the agenda?
not added to that, so we just have
One's
one.
back, I think.
And what about the,
Winter time.
what about the Aaron Stafford and the accessory?
That should be in planning committee as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, so we'll go back to our original agenda. Number 2 will be 670 University Avenue is taken off. So, I need approval for the agenda. Moved by Mr. Mayor, seconded by Basil Hambley. All those in favor? Thank you, everybody. Adoption of the minutes. I'll need a mover and a seconder, and then we can discuss. Moved by
So moved.
Bob Kenny, seconded by Councillor Yankoff. All those in favor of that? And I see unanimous. Thank you very much. Any business arising from those minutes? I see none. Thank you. We'll move into reports. 6A, 189 Great George Street, which is a request for a major variance to permit a 212 square foot mural on the south-facing facade of, geez. I'll give up.
Oh,
Facade.
Mr. Chair, that's so great. If I could get this one
Holy
here.
cow. Tongue twister.
Oh my gosh.
You're up, Emily.
Hi,
Hi.
and I'm actually
Hi.
trying to.
Oh, hi,
move
Julie.
this.
Hi, sorry that I just had somewhere, I like.
Yeah, no, we just,
That meeting and.
okay,
on to another thing.
we're just dealing with 189 Great George Street, and then we'll be going right to Capitol Drive.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm gonna stand here just because the clicker isn't working and I know time is of the essence here. So if I can, I'm gonna move through this.
And Emily, if you can speak a little louder too, because
For
you're away
sure.
from the mic, just to make sure everyone can hear. Thank you.
Right, so we're looking at a major variance request and, oh, thanks, Ellen.
There we go.
To permit this 212 square foot mural, and it's a reproduction of the piece of artwork, the original piece, We Can't All Be Perfect by Erica Rutherford. And it's proposed to be located on the south facade of the existing building there, which you guys would know better as the old triangle. So very quick overview of this property and the surrounding area. This property is zoned downtown core. As you folks are probably well aware, it's an eating and drinking establishment today. It's a 3-story building, and the footprint covers much of the property of that building. It's located in the 500 lot area, and this building is not heritage designated as well. Adjacent properties, you guys again are probably well aware. There's the Jean Canfield building to the north. There's a former Ultramar gas station to the northeast. Atlantic Technology Center to the east. We got also these undeveloped lots to the west and to the south. The one to the south, abutting where this mural is proposed to be located, is occupied today by outdoor seating, and that serves the Old Triangle building, or the patrons of Old Triangle. So here's a view of that south-facing facade, like an aerial view. So right here is where the mural is proposed to be located, facing that outdoor seating area. So here is the concept of the mural. And just for a little bit of background, and there's more in the report, but Erica Rutherford is considered a pioneer for PEI transgender and 2SL LGBTQ plus community members. And this is, again, a reproduction of her original work. So it's on a vinyl print that's stretched across a tension frame. And they're looking to do a wood frame around that just to cover the tension frame as well. And I believe we can hear more from the representatives of the project. The idea is to have kind of like a gallery type image with the frame. So this mural is to be funded by Discover Charlottetown. We're fortunate to have a representative here today with us who can speak more to that. And we did receive, as of today, an agreement that was signed by the artist family giving permission for this project to proceed. We also received authorization from the property owner. And there was some discussion regarding a placard placed just to give a description of the artist and this original work as well. And I believe the property owner is proposing to paint this facade a black color to be more complimentary of the mural as well. So just how this mural kind of arrived to planning board today. I know this is not, a project you're typically used to reviewing and considering. So just a really quick background on what occurred to get to this point. So in August 2021, Council approved a series of amendments to the zoning bylaw, and one of which was to include in the major variance section a provision that says when there's a recommendation supported by the Arts Advisory Board for a proposed mural and it's located within the 500 lot area and it's deemed to be, aesthetically, aesthetically appropriate in nature, location, size, and scale for enhancing it or supporting the art and cultural needs of a community as a whole, it may proceed through the major variance process, which is why we're here today. So again, this is in the 500 lot area, and on August 24th, the Arts Advisory Board did review this proposal. And they deemed it to have artistic merit and recommended that it proceed through the major variance process. So quickly from a official plan and zoning bylaw perspective, this project will be located on a facade of a building and facing an undeveloped lot that has outdoor seating. If this lot remains undeveloped, the mural will be visible from the street from the public sidewalk for anyone passing by, so it provides that kind of public benefit. And from a zoning bylaw perspective, the proposed mural does meet the definition for a mural set out in the zoning bylaw, so that's compliant. And then we also had that support from the Arts Advisory Board as well. So for that reason, our department is recommending that it be approved, this request. And just we have a couple recommendations there that the placard be placed close to the public sidewalk on that south-facing facade, just so people can be, understand the original piece of work and the artists behind it. And then that frame that it be constructed with natural wood, just because that's more complementary of our design standards in the 500 lot area. So that kind of concludes my presentation, folks. And again, we have project representatives here if you guys have any questions for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Emily, very good. Any questions for Emily first before we ask the others? Any questions at all? I see none.
I put the resolution on the floor and then we can do questions from there.
If you want to do a resolution, we can do that.
Support this to go on to council. I think it's
Okay,
incredible.
we can do that, and if you have any
It's
questions for
absolutely
Heidi,
stunning.
we can ask at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you have a resolution to recommend to council from the planning board that the recommendation from planning and heritage department moves forward. Do I have a seconder? Shannon seconds it. Okay, all those in favor? Yeah.
Oh, does anyone have a
Well, we
question?
should have a question first, sorry folks. So do we have any questions for Heidi or for Emily or any concerns?
Looks great.
Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
great idea. Yeah. Okay, great.
Just one question, Heidi, Mural. Any case studies in similar jurisdictions of our size or using this type of
I stole
vinyl?
it from my hometown of Saint-Lambert, which is on the south shore of Montreal. And they have a program called, the translation of it in English is Art in the Open,
Yeah.
open air gallery. And it's something that, we've talked about internally at Discover Charlottetown for many years. And of course, I very much appreciate it. We appreciate the heritage value of our city, but there are a number of buildings that have materials that aren't heritage in nature, we would say, such as the Old Triangle, the ATC, the side of the Holman brand. And if I may take the opportunity to say now, I think that this is a really exciting first step in creating an open air art gallery in Charlottetown. They can last for 15 to 20 years, And I'm a bit at odds with the word mural because it's not really a mural, it's a giant piece of artwork. It's from her original print. It's a print that is blown up and will have a wooden frame around it, so it looks like someone took a large picture and hung it on the side of the building.
Yeah.
So I think it could be really stunning and add to kind of the vibe we're going for in the city as an arts and culture destination. If this was the starting point to have, well-known island artists around the city on kind of those walls that are a little bit more bare in nature.
And just, Mr. Chair, Erica Rutherford, I don't have any of her original work, I do have her prints. Original work is very expensive for
Maybe next term.
my salary. But the building, just so you know, that is the old Heritage City.
Right.
One of the first dairies to produce pasteurized milk in the city of Charlottetown. So that building has a long history in the city of
Yeah,
Charlottetown.
there is some heritage there, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes, don't get me wrong, the
Yeah.
building itself is a beautiful old building,
Yeah.
but the material on that side of the wall is
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, right now, it's kind of ugly painted
Yeah.
tin, right? So I think that this will really help to
Yeah,
improve it, it's not,
interesting.
there's no heritage material on that side.
Okay. just-
Okay.
The only thing
Mr. Council.
and maybe it's because it's the world I'm in, I've always been a bit perplexed at how many steps we have to go through when we have an arts advisory board, why it should even have to be here. Like why, I mean, Laurel's committee, council advisory board, I just always wondered why then here, why not just go right to council? But anyway, that's just a side note. It's just so many steps
Yeah.
for pieces of public art when public art is not signage.
Well, I guess,
Yes.
yeah, but it could simply be just out of the respect for the city of Charlottetown's bylaws, right? We want to make sure that we're touching base with all the bylaws and we're staying in line, that's all. It's just
Not only
another,
that, Mr.
yeah.
Chair, this is the 500 lots.
And this is the 500 lots.
This is
That's
not
right.
the uptown or
Yeah.
out in the periphery. This is the old
Yeah.
city, Southern Old Quebec,
Yeah.
or Mexico.
At the end of the day, the process is being followed, it's a recommendation from the arts board, and then it comes to here and then it goes to council. So, I know you gotta have patience of Joe, but.
Just one more question, but it's a fun one. If this goes on and is approved at council, how soon will we see that up there?
Well, I don't know how much the elements
Yeah.
play into getting it up, like it was supposed to be up, we have everything ordered and that's done, so I'm hoping that they can put it up within a few weeks.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that'd be nice, yeah.
Amazing.
Okay.
And they'll have to paint around it. Ideally, they would have painted before it went up, but just because of timing, they'll have to paint around the frame in the spring.
Okay, good.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Just another little tidbit. Walter Cox, who was the owner of Garden City, was one of our former mayors.
There you
Just a
go.
little history.
There you go.
So like a bunch of apples.
Take back the one. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. All those in favor? That would be everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, Councilor McCabe, since you're here, in favor or? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Perfect. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Heidi. Thank you very much for your time.
Maybe if we pull up water lots, that'll be really 2 minutes, and then Councilor Yankow can leave it, that'll work. for
Are you okay with
Go
that?
anywhere anyways because we have a council
We're-
meeting.
I have about
She's
15 minutes total before I have to
Okay.
get off.
No, we're good.
Here anyway, so I'll just step
Okay,
out.
we'll stay on the agenda. So we'll jump to B,
Yes.
which is 320 Capitol Drive. Alex.
Alex, oh, Boards.
And Councilor Yankoff is declaring conflict, so she has moved out of the room, but we still have quorum. Councilor McCabe is online. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did notice that on my own report that the date on it is 2020, we'll change that to 2021. Anyway, this is an application that was before the board previously. There was a lot of discussion on this application. It's 320, even at that time, it's 320 Capitol Drive is the civic address on there. The last time it was here, we didn't even have a civic address, but just the history on this, it was here in November of last year. At that time, it was submitted by Cordova Realty, they're the property owner. This application has been submitted by the tenant, which is DP Murphy, who's the franchisee or owner. And for the purpose of this report in regard to a development agreement, we're going to use them interchangeably. Cordova and DP Murphy, they both have to agree to, if anything proceeds with this in regard to an approval. When this was here last, there were a number of questions from the board members and councilors related to how the proposed drive-through may interfere with the circulation entering the adjacent provincial roundabout and pedestrian safety for those wishing to utilize a nearby pedestrian crosswalk on Maypoint Road. At the planning board meeting in November, the applicant's representative, or the person that did the traffic report, was not present. The planning board members had, again, a number of detailed questions and concerns. They asked me a number of questions. Some of those questions were of sort of the category, can you guarantee that there won't be a problem? During that meeting, I had to kind of convey back to the board, it's somebody else's report. I can only reiterate what it said in the report, but I can't make a statement on behalf of that person. So the Mr. Good is here this evening, and this is one of the opportunities why this is back. The applicant did take this to IRAC, the Island Regulatory Appeals Commission, and then the 1 year period is up. There's an issue whether they even needed to wait the 1 year, but the 1 year period has gone by. And they would prefer to, again, just have a good hearing on this application, make sure the decision makers are very aware of their project, and again, be able to talk directly to to their consultant, their traffic engineer. And I think, hoping that Mr. Adams is on the phone as well. I've asked him to call in to the meeting. So that's why it's back, and again, Mr. Good will be here this evening if you have any questions related to that. There was 3 traffic studies for this project. There's 4 traffic studies, and that could be Scott there. There was the first traffic study that DP Murphy had to get in place for all of the access points on the property, even before the property was purchased. I think it was the former Tweedy property. So that was the first traffic report. Mr. Good was involved in that. Then the second report that was done by Mr. Good on behalf of VXP dealt with the drive-through. The third report was a peer review done by Crandall Engineering out of St. John of Mr. Good's work. And then as a part of that, we sent it back one more time to Crandall for other options. It's in the report. We've decided not to pursue the other options in the Crandall report, but that's the background on the case. And I do indicate in this current report, planning staff would note that this application is primarily traffic related, and the traffic reports and expert in this field are the most qualified people available to assess the overall impact of the proposed drive-through. Therefore, the application is back before the board this time to ensure that all decision makers, the planning board and councilor, are fully aware of the analysis undertaken in the 2 comprehensive traffic reports, and hopefully the traffic engineers can respond to any and all questions that arose during the process related to hearing the application. Staff would note that the 2 applications are very similar, with the exception of a small change in the amount of queuing spaces that can be provided on site. It would appear on the revised site plan submitted by DP Murphy, they can accommodate 6 more cars in their double queuing lane. That's attachment C. Again, staff are recommending, as we did before, for approval on this. I would point out that the DP Murphy will be committed to building a right turn lane, and it's all in those reports. So there's quite a bit of expense for the whether it's Cordova or DP Murphy. I'm not sure who's going to pay for it, but it's to when you leave the property, and if you're turning right, it'll take you back into town on a dedicated turning lane, so you don't have to go through the roundabout. And so that's a condition of this. There's conditions in here by the province that have indicated and we'll have to work that out through the development agreement, but if it's shown for 2 consecutive days that traffic is queuing back in front of this access point, trying to get into the roundabout, that the province wants a triggering mechanism that they may have to close that access point. And they have other access points on the property, but that's the province's, we've been dealing with them as well. It's our piece of infrastructure right in front of the access point, but they control the roundabout. They use a term called the area of influence, and this driveway access is in that area of influence. So this project has been fairly well vetted between, Scott Adams is familiar with it. Scott is supportive of the way that it's being proposed. The province was not supportive of some more complicated reconfiguring and new lanes going into the roundabout. They didn't want to do that. They are supportive of this right turning lane that will have to be built, and the expense is in here as well. It's about $150,000. And again, with all of the other conditions that were in the Crandall report. So with that, Mr. Gillis, on behalf of Mr. Murphy, is here this evening, and Mr. Good is online. And I think Mr. Adams is online as well. Is that correct, Mr. Adams?
Are you here, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, again, I'm here to answer any planning-related questions, but primarily, planning is fine with this project, but it's just a matter of how it's here under a portion of the bylaw that deals with if you're going to open up a drive-through in the city, at the request of the city, you have to indicate through a traffic study that it's not going to interfere with the traffic movement on the adjacent roadway. And so that's where we've been for the last while on this application. It's there's been somewhat of a debate in regard to, is it going to interfere with the roadway? There's cross hatching as well. It's a part of my recommendation to council for approval on this. So we've tried to implement every measure we feel to ensure that traffic can get in off of May Point, get into the site, and get out of it without significantly interfering with the roundabout.
Thank you very much, Alex. Any questions for Alex? Just for those that are online or watching, Alex, could you just explain the cross-hatching?
So the cross-hatching is it's a technique that it's utilized in other areas, but in front of the whole the open access point, the primary way into the Tim Hortons, you'll have this cross-hatching on the pavement and signage that indicates, please do not queue, don't stop in this cross-hatched area. There's other provisions in here in the wintertime, because you're not going to be able to see that. There's going to be flashing lights that say do not queue or stand in this area while the lights are flashing. Now, it takes sometimes some people a little bit of time to appreciate that it's a new methodology, but every effort is being made so that people don't stop, try to make that left turn movement. You're coming into Charlottetown from Cornwall or whatever, you turn off to get into the Tim Hortons, and we just don't want people constantly standing or waiting to make that left turn movement, because then more people will start backing up
Into the roundabout.
Right into the roundabout, and then that's what the province is concerned about. That it's in their interest and everybody's interest that roundabout is circulating at a certain functionality, so that it does not compound the amount of traffic that moves through there on an hourly basis.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Great explanation.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just
Mr. Mayor.
cross-hatching, if you go on Kirkwood Street,
Great.
Kirkwood Drive, and you're
Kirkwood.
heading east from the
The,
city police station,
yeah.
there's an example. of cross-hatching.
there's a small
Can I
bridge.
just
Yeah.
ask a question?
You sure can, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Forbes, so the roundabout, I have it up here on my Google Maps, it's a 2-lane roundabout,
Correct, yeah?
okay?
Right.
So if I'm going east on Capitol Drive, I can go on the inside lane and keep going down Capitol Drive, and the outside lane can go there right and go down May Point Road to go into get his or her coffee, correct?
I think if I'm visualizing in your mind, you're north-south.
Yeah, so there's no way that we can hold up traffic in the roundabout.
Yeah, I think the concern is it's the movement coming off of the highway, coming into Charlottetown,
Right.
coming from Cornwall, that you're pulling off, and then people start backing up there to make that turning movement, because you've also got cars on May Point heading into the traffic circle, and they may be just naturally backing up. Right? They
Right.
sometimes back up anyways
Right.
to get into it. So if there's not a break there, the province is just indicating that that they want to ensure that the functionality of their roundabout isn't decreased to the point that it's not functioning
Correct.
properly.
I understand that.
And on the other hand, and you can talk to Mr. Gillis, we'll make a presentation here as well. it's somewhat hard for a developer to sign these agreements and indicate that they're prepared to close the primary access, but that's what these reports are about. The reports are saying that this shouldn't happen, so somebody's got to take a leap of faith, and in those agreements, we have to reflect, we'll take, well, that you're the decision makers, but the decision makers want to take the leap of faith, but if it doesn't really work, we need the mechanism to go back in and fix that.
Right.
Because one little tiny operation, and I shouldn't say tiny, I mean, it's a great, but one store, it's only 600 square feet.
Right.
If it's interfering with people's ability to get to work on a daily basis,
Then-
because traffic will go somewhere else. They may start cutting down May Point. If they start diverting and doing strange movements because of this particular access, we just don't want that to happen. So.
So just quickly, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So if I get a copy there at the DP Murphy Tim Hortons, I don't want to go out the exit, the right on exit on the Capitol Drive. I want to get back into the roundabout. So I have to go in front of the service station and then back out.
You'll go out the primary access. You'll turn right. There's going to be a new right slip lane. There's going to be a slip lane that they
Coming out of
built.
the ultra service station.
Well, it'll be their primary access, so you'll get back out. There's going to be a slip lane there, so you don't have to go through the roundabout. So that Tim Hortons traffic exiting their property, they'll have a dedicated right turn lane that gets you back out to Capitol Drive, heading back into town without going through the roundabout.
Yeah, but what the mayor is asking though, but the option is there for you to come across the front of the service station and back out into the cross hatching and then take the right back onto the roundabout and back.
Right, yeah.
Let's say if I work at the industrial park.
Yeah.
Right,
And I
exactly.
want to go round out up the upper node to the upper node. I have no problem doing that.
Right, you'll go the same as you've always done. You get 2 lanes into the roundabout.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I want to clarify.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Alex? At this point, no, but would you like to
I'd
bring
like to
in?
bring in Mr. Gillis.
Mr. Gillis, sir.
And he'll make his
Yeah.
presentation.
Certainly.
Oh, there he is.
Welcome to Planning Board, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. I should say again.
Thank you very much. I want to try to be as brief and clear as I can be, so I prepared some notes so I don't ramble too much. There's a 3-step process, and I think Alex has done a great job of explaining that. It requires 3 levels of concurrence. Your staff has to rely on technical advice, and as has been pointed out, there's been 3 traffic studies done over a 5-year period, probably from the time the original one was done. And it also requires support from Planning Board, which blends sort of the technical aspects in with the political representatives from the community, as well as the other members who sit on these boards and volunteer their time to assist in the decision making. And then it has to, if it gets support from those 2 levels, go to council. And in the previous application, it met 2 of those requirements. There was concurrence by technical staff review and peer review for the technical solution. It came to Planning Board and got the support of both staff and the Planning Board and went to council, and it got turned down. Given the fact that there was a lot of effort made to get this into a go-for-it position, the applicants, Cordova and DP Murphy, had no recourse but to take it to an appeal. And over the last 10 months, certainly, there's been attempts to look for ways to mediate a solution. And it's always been Mr. Murphy's view that he lives here in this community and he believes strongly into the community sort of spirit, that rather than relying on the IRAC tribunal to make the decision, he would prefer that we reach consensus with council and staff. So that's why we're back here tonight. We've withdrawn the appeal, set it aside, and our hope is that good communication can bring this to a successful conclusion. And I just want to, in addition to some of the points that come out in the technical analysis, elevate the discussion to, it's not just a micro neighborhood decision. And I think the city is seeing more and more the need to step aside from small decisions and look at broad policy and planning directions. And what is very interesting is that Don Good, who is going to be available to answer questions tonight, he's actually a gentleman that has more experience in age than I do. And he participated and led the first regional planning study for the city in 1978 to 80. And that was initiated by the Regional Planning Board when there were 14 communities. And the reason that we have a bypass arterial highway is because of that pragmatic, long-term vision to develop a framework for infrastructure to be built over time. And I would say that today we're facing similar situations, and I see it more and more now where the city is starting to look at neighborhood planning decisions. The sort of precinct around the Charlottetown Mall is one, the University Avenue, St. Peter's Road. There's many, many initiatives now that are being led by a framework of planning. I would say that some of the issues we have in this area extend down to North River Road at Beach Grove, where because of congestion on North River Road going north, when people reach the traffic light at Beach Grove Road and they see that it's queued all the way from Capitol Drive into that intersection, they divert their plan and they make a left turn onto Beach Grove Road and flow north on Maypoint and enter the roundabout, which moves traffic more smoothly than it does at the conventional congested traffic light at North River Road. So the Tim Hortons is not the only factor in why we have need for planning and engineers to look at traffic. I think there's a joint responsibility. And every customer in the morning that goes to this new outlet is going to be bleeding off traffic from that overly congested North River Road intersection. It's going to alleviate some of the congestion that exists there. I'd also point to the fact that with the support that City Council and Planning Board has given to approve a new Tim Hortons at Mount Edward Road earlier this year, that as well is going to contribute to a reduction in some of the concerns that might be expressed about people coming to this outlet and then trying to make a left turn back out through the Rotary to get over to the industrial area or the industrial park. I think there is a sincere attempt by DP Murphy to be proactive and to invest in their business. It's a business decision, but to alleviate what are challenges for traffic. Another important factor is that if you go out to the North River Road outlet today, you'll see a tent built in the back of the property, and that's not because there's a carnival. They're actually doing concrete work and paving to install a double drive-through at that location. And that's an investment in trying to reduce the queuing length, to accelerate the time for customers to move from the time they get to the menu board to their order is fulfilled. And again, an investment in expedient movement and reducing of congestion. And all of these locations tie together. They don't operate independently. The other thing is time elements. The concern over the left turn into the site from Maypoint and the traffic going onto the roundabout. There's two different times of day when they peak. In the evening, as many of the people who work at the Jones and Sullivan building are leaving the city, that's when we have the highest congestion at North River, Beach Grove Road, and Maypoint Road. But the offsetting factor is that's not the peak time for customers to be accessing the site. So there is a certain amount of interleafing of time to reduce the sort of congestion. The other important thing to remember is that this site, which is over 1 3/4 acres, has a lot of asphalt on it, has a lot of permutations on how customers will become familiar with accessing the site. And I know that the human being is sort of very creative in looking for the shortest distance between 2 points with the least resistance. And if they see that there is a queue on the Maypoint Road throat, they're going to carry through the roundabout, and they're going to go 500 yards down the highway and enter this site from the right in, right out access from Capitol Drive. I think it becomes self-adjusting in terms of how the traffic will flow on the site. I think it's already been pointed out, the cross-hatching to reduce congestion, and the multiple access points from this site are strategic advantages. And not to sort of diminish sort of the fact that we're here tonight to talk about a Tim Hortons, DP Murphy is interested in making more investments in this area of the city. They've acquired the land that connects the Hampton Inn site. The adjacent 2 properties have been purchased, and that connects their land holdings all the way down to the existing Holiday Inn Express. And I think we would like to get into a discussion and dialogue with the city about more planning work that we would like to be involved with to look at how we interconnect these sites to dissipate any of the intensity of traffic and make it work for everybody's interest. And to see another hotel on the site would be one of the outcomes that could come out of that discussion, to make a safer access onto the Wandelin, the existing Holiday Inn Express site, so that rather than facing 4 lanes of traffic, that we try to find an entrance that works for everybody. Those are my points. I hope we can continue to work together to support this initiative. There's been lots of technical analysis done, and Don Good is standing by if there are direct questions that anybody wants to put to him. But I think we already crossed those points in the previous application that was approved, but I'm not going to cut anybody off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gillis. Any questions, folks?
I have a comment just for a minute, because I did read the report. My only thought, and I appreciate all the work and efforts of Mr. Murphy to, get everything organized. I appreciate the traffic report. The cross-hatching thing, they're in place and everything's great with that, but if we don't educate people about that, I know there's cross-hatching by the police station, and every time I'm there, every day, there's people that are filling the cross-hatching and things. So if we're going to approve this, I think it's definitely we need to do some education around how to use cross-hatching and what its purpose is, because otherwise there's no sense even putting them in. That's just my comment.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor McCabe. Point well taken, and we'll work toward some PR work on that. I think is probably the best thing, and even have police involved a little bit with it as well. So, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Mayor?
Chair, on the Maypoint Road drawing that extends from the turn coming into the roundabout. Alex, I don't know if we have an active transportation pathway on either side. And again, this is not an issue for you, but I think that we should take that into consideration, that the sidewalk stops there at the first laneway that goes in back of the hotel. And you know that the provincial government has already constructed an active transportation pathway running parallel to Upton Road, right to the roundabout, and the plan is to run that further to connect to the Confederation Trail on the north side of up to the city. So Brian, I just want to bring that up, is that I think, and with Scott on the phone, is that we should keep that in mind, is that we want to not only be sympathetic to vehicular traffic, but also pedestrian traffic, which is very important. And Brian, it also connects, that pathway goes south, or goes east, down in front of the Holiday Inn Express, and we're looking at connecting that eventually to Spencer Drive and onto the trail. So just something to keep in mind, Alex and Scott Adams, about
Yes, yeah.
that we should, if we're going ahead with this, let's make it for all.
We support that 100%.
Yeah, not just for-
The community we live in just
Yeah.
has to be an active community.
Yeah.
Those networks are very, very important.
Anything to add, Mr. Adams?
No, nothing. I think everyone covered everything.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Gillis? I see none. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in, and you'll be hearing from us shortly as council's coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
And for Mr. Good that's online, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, very well, job well done, thank you. Okay, the Heritage Department's recommendation is for us to recommend to council. So, do I have a Julie, you're still on the line?
I am.
Okay.
I just want to say, we haven't, I'm okay once you get the resolution, I'll make my vote, but I still think I'd like to hear from council of the area too for a little bit more clarification.
Yeah.
This really hasn't changed at all since our last time. But anyway, that's just another point. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to move.
Motion to move to this onward or not to move it? Okay, moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Resident Member Bob Kenny. All those in, any other discussion?
Question.
Questions called. All those in favor? That would be everybody. Julie, in favor or?
I'm in favor right now.
Right, well, that's the purpose of council, right? We'll have Councillor Rivard's input come day of council. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, I'm gonna sign off now.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time,
Thanks,
Julie.
Councilor Yank.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
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 All
All right.
I'm gonna get my report and all for good and
So, we're moving on to B4, which is the proposed water lot amendments. Alex.
This is gonna be fast, so I'm not gonna scare you.
Okay.
Oh.
And we're gonna ask,
You didn't listen to that, right?
How could I not? It was blaring through the halls. I just don't have a comment.
sorry. It is pretty loud right there. It is loud, isn't it? Okay.
Sit anywhere else. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was here, thank you, Mr. Chair. This was here last month, and I'm not going to go over all again. There's water lots, and there's some depth in regard to what we dealt with, and it was on the way to council. It just got deferred. But when it was here last at Planning Board, there was a couple of small items that had come up through the public hearing process that I had indicated at the meeting that I would change to make it a little bit tighter. And so in the document that you have, where you can see in bold, is there's really fairly small changes. One change was live aboard vessel. We had that if you were there for more or less than 5 days, we're going to get out of that. We're not going to start regulating. If it's in a marina, if it's a sailboat or a powerboat, if it's in a marina, we're not concerned with it. That was never our intent. So that was a change to that definition. The only other thing that I changed is under the attachment G. It's highlighted at the end. Our policy is not intended to interfere with the existing and future operations related to HMCS Queen Charlotte. It's relatively so sleepy there, but a lot of people never even mentioned it, but it is one of those entities that does utilize the waterfront, and they've been utilizing it for a long time, so that's in the plan policy. And I think the only other thing I changed the building permit to a development permit when they come forward. So it's just in light of the fact that this is going back to council on Monday, I just, I mentioned that I would make a couple of small changes. Just wanted to make sure you were aware of that the board, and that you can, hopefully would concur with those changes.
Okay, any questions for Alex on that? Councillor Yankov, you being the area resident, any concerns, questions?
I think we addressed them all during the last month.
Right.
I don't have any at this point, addressing the concerns of the residents. Biggest thing was they just wanted their waterfront lots protected, and I think that Alex has assured us that that this will protect the residents.
Okay.
And just for clarification, Mr. Chair, so if I live in West Street, my lot will refer to as open
Open space,
residential.
open
Well,
space.
It's just, it's similar to on land. Open space means restricted,
Right.
right? So it's restricted, but if you want to do something on that lot, then you'd have to make application to the city,
Right.
and then basically sell it to your neighbors that it's a good plan.
Is it like a rezoning?
It is. It's a
Oh,
site,
okay.
you'd have to
Okay.
either, you go through that process. The same, and I keep reiterating this, when these amendments come through, they were generated because of the floating dock. Those people have to come back as well. So they need the framework, this is the framework. The people that own the floating docks will be back, I'd say, in January or fairly soon as after these are approved, and they'll be making application for their specific project down on the commercial side of the waterfront.
Right.
So this just lays out the rules of the road, and then anybody wanting to do anything different than has happened either on the commercial area, the marinas down there, or on those residential lots, have to be vetted through you folks.
And Alex, I know you've said this before many times, right? The water lots are very unique to Charlottetown, and I believe to some extent, maybe not anymore in Victoria, but other than that,
Halifax has water lots, and
they do have water lots.
and they've recently brought in regulations for this exact reason.
And do we mirror their framework, or is it our?
They're all a little bit different because there's different legislation in
Different
different
players,
provinces,
yeah.
but the bottom line is that in the absence of having any policies or rules, it's very difficult to say no to somebody, and this is to clarify the city, the council's intent as to how both the residential and commercial properties will be
So
regulated.
again, Halifax copied off. Okay, thanks, Alex.
Thank you very much, Councillor Yanko.
And I believe, and his worship might be able to confirm this too, that Mr. Kelly confirmed that the easement that the city has to go down there to get at pipes and stuff is only to go to get at pipes.
Right.
That's the only thing. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
Yeah,
Just want that in the public record.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did want that in public.
Thanks.
yeah, good point, well taken. Okay,
I'm just curious
Bob,
about
yeah.
something, Alex. As I walked through there today, I noticed still a lot of buildings right out in front of Peaks Key in the water. I thought it was said that those buildings would be taken out for the winter, or am I wrong? Perhaps I heard
Well, you'll be dealing with that when they come through on the site-specific amendment.
Right.
The rules are trying to imply an intent, but some of them are going to ask for some relaxation. It is hard to move them around, and the docks, they leave those docks in the water all winter, or a number of those docks. They take the ones out from the Charlottetown Yacht Club, but they move the docks over from that location, and they move them over to the Charlottetown Marina. So, I mean, some infrastructure is really hard to get out of the water, then you've got to transport it somewhere else, and then you've got to bring it back. So, but the ability under this is that from an aesthetic point of view, if you get more and more of these, and you feel that the city's getting more cluttered, then you can say as a part of the next person beyond the Mr. Toombs that's going to come forward, you could say you have to remove them because people are now getting uncomfortable because you've got all of this infrastructure in the water. I think right now, I can't speak on behalf of the community, but nobody's been pushing back yet. But at some point, somebody will push back and say, there's way too much stuff in the water all winter, it's blocking my view or looks unattractive. But you'll have the ability to comment on that at that time.
Good.
And Mr. Chair,
Thank
they
you.
always have water in the basement. Jeez.
I'm not going there. Anyway, thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we need a resolution for that to move to council. Moved by Councilor McCabe, seconded. Councilor Yankoff.
Councilor
She is the one,
Lana.
I'm happy to be
How
here.
do you? Well, if it's any consolation, when you were saying goodbye, the mayor said Councilor Yankoff.
I love
So
it.
the two of us will get it straight eventually. Anyway, so I need a seconder. Seconded by Basil Hambley. All those in favor? And that would be unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. I guess we need no, we forgot. No, we don't have any introduction to new business, do we? No, we approved that in the agenda. We need one more motion, folks.
Motion,
Adjournment.
so moved.
Moved by Bob Kenny, seconded by the
Thank
mayor.
you, sir.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.